Hi students, a very good morning to all of you. I am Dr. Anurag Agarwal and this is OSN Academy of English since 1998. Students, today this is a special session for those students who are going to take the 2022 mains examination as well as they are preparing for the 2023 as well as 2024 examinations, especially the UPSC, BPSC, Uttar Pradesh Public Service Commission, West Bengal Public Service Commission, even Jammu and Kashmir Public Service Commissions and other state examinations as well. Because the previous year question which I have taken today to discuss with you is on Wordsworth. And Wordsworth is such a great poet that it is included in all the syllabus in the entire country. So students, if you want to know that how to solve these questions, how to solve the PYQs, how to have a command over your literature with the entire classes or the study content, then sit back properly with a pen and paper in your hand and just see that what I am going to teach you, how I teach you, and what has to be the main motive by or for getting the 280, 290 or 300 plus score. Why? Because without this score, you will not be able to get into the interview board. And once you are into the interview with such marks, you are supposed to qualify this exam. Am I right, students? So let us start that how to solve the PYQs or how to solve the test series with answer writing. So today the topic which I have taken, which had come in the previous UPSC exam, that is write an essay on Wordsworth's Mysticism. Write an essay on Wordsworth's Wordsworth mysticism with special reference to Tintern Abbey. And the second poem which is prescribed in your syllabus is Ode on Intimation of Immortality and Ode on Intimations of Immortality. I am writing it in short. Fine. Rajesh Dubey, good morning. Meghali Arora, good morning, Meghali. Pujita, good morning. Suma, good morning. Rajesh Chobe, namaste. Coincidentally, all of you are my IAS aspirants for the 2022 and 2023. I hope, Pujita, you must be solving the test series well. And from the last few weeks, you have not shown your tests to me for evaluation. Meghali, I am sure you must be doing well for your 2023 exam. And Suma, I welcome you here for the first time on this channel. And just to tell you, students, Suma, she is my student, a new student who has joined the 2023 batch. And by profession or by academic career, she is an MBBS doctor. So hats off to Suma that as an MBBS doctor, you have joined the UPSC class and you have told us that you had so much love for literature that you chose the literature option. And when you got OSN Academy and Dr. Agarwal, you inclined to have the classes. So best of luck, best wishes, and just enjoy this class with full dedication. Fine. So now let us see, students, that how to solve this question. Write an essay on Wordsworth's mysticism. Now see, first of all, read or study the question which has been given to you properly one time, two times. And the main focus on this question is on the word mysticism. So you have to focus your answer on the word mysticism. But when you are using this term mysticism, you have to see that the answers which you have to write are based on the poems. And the poems which are based are Tintern Abbey and Ode on Intimations to Immortality. Fine. Now I am rubbing this question. You must have written because I want the board to solve this question with full understanding. See, now there are so many ways to interpret this question. There will be thousands and thousands of students who will be writing the answers in a different way. Every student has a different background, a different set of mind. And as me as a scholar and a student, I may write in a different manner. But why I am trying to make you understand to solve the PYQs, Because once I am writing or teaching you, my teaching or my way of writing you will find it not very in the sense of accomplishing very gaudy words, very prosaic words, words which have some absurdity which the examiners don't understand. It will be very simple, but it will be having a lot of knowledge inculcated into my sentences. So the knowledge with the accomplishment, with the free flowing of the feeling or the knowledge, that is going to give you good marks. Fine. So lot of thoughts will come to your mind when you are writing your answer, suppose on Wordsworth mysticism. So my first line would be like this, that the poetic accomplishment and the multi-dimensionality of William Wordsworth. See, two words I have used, but these two words will fetch you very good marks in the very opening sentence when the examiner is going to read your answer. Why? Because in these two words, you have shown the examiner that yes, how true you are in writing, in making the understanding of Wordsworth as a great poet. So the first word मैंने क्या इस्तेमाल किया student? The poetic accomplishment. The poetic and second word क्या इस्तेमाल किया? Multi. He is a multi-dimensional figure. Multi-dimensionality. Multi-dimension लिखिए पहले, dimension और ILT बढ़ा दीजिए. See, is there any feeling that these are gaudy words, absurd words? Very simple, but having a lot of meaning to it. The poetic accomplishment and multi-dimensionality of whom? Of William Wordsworth. Yes, of William Wordsworth. And who is William Wordsworth? He is none other but the chief proponent of the ideals of Romantic Renaissance. The chief proponent of the ideals of Romantic Renaissance. Who is William Wordsworth students? यहाँ पे देखिए कॉमा लगा के. He is the chief proponent of the ideals of Romantic Renaissance. So the poetic accomplishment and multidimensionality of William Wordsworth, who is the chief proponent of the ideas of Romantic Renaissance, revolves not just around meadows, revolves not just around the meadows, the groves, the cascading cataracts and the still sad music of humanity. केवल यही नहीं है, it actually transcends beyond the perpetual. It transcends beyond the perceptual and intellectual understanding of things. So this is how the first paragraph has to be utilized in making the student analyze the examiner that he has a great knowledge of Wordsworth understanding as a poet. And it believes in the existence of reflective of subjective experience, the transcendent or the realities of subjective experience, and the transcendent or ultimate reality of God. But here you have also to say that the thread of divinity, जो divinity का धागा है, जो thread है किसका? divine का, the thread of divinity running through the soul of things, this thread of divine soul which is running in the soul of things, this lends them brevity, this lends them charm, and which lends them charm and brevity, it is imparting pleasure to the senses. So that is why we say that this mysticism and transcendentalism is actually reflected in his immortal poetic renderings. So here I have tried to come to the conclusion by stating certain sentences, making it prove to the examiner that what do you understand by the term transcendentalism or mysticism. So in these 4, 5, 6 lines, you will make the examiner understand that this mysticism and this transcendentalism is reflected in his immortal poetic renderings. And what are those poetic renderings, students? In the Tintern Abbey as well as Intimations of Immortality Ode. Fine. Akash Nayak, good morning, Akash. And Rukhi, good morning. Raghavendra Singh, good morning. Welcome, Raghavendra. Welcome to OSN channel. And I also give you best wishes and a great future ahead for choosing OSN and for joining the OSN UPSC classes yesterday evening. So best wishes, Raghavendra. I hope that you will study good and make us proud. Good morning, Zayo's classroom. Fine. So let us, यहाँ तक कोई दिक्कत हो तो पूछिएगा आप मुझसे मैसेज पे. Could you understand, students, the starting of this PYQ? This is the previous year question of the UPSC, which I am discussing with you in all its varieties. That what and how you have to write, taking into consideration different things, different things which make the examiner feel ultimate that yes, you have a good knowledge, so that you may get out a good marks. Now, after this first paragraph, which is considered to be the introduction part, where you are supposed to get a good emphasis on the examiner's mind that he is going to give you good marks or not. Now, the second paragraph will directly come to the understanding of the poem, and that is the Tintern Abbey. Now, here you will say that the poem Tintern Abbey, with its 5 summers and with the length of 5 long winters, you must have read the poem. The very first lines are the 5 summers with the length of 5 long winters. So this poem Tintern Abbey, with its 5 summers and with the length of 5 long winters, at the very outset, foreground the role of indelible reminiscences in the spiritual growth of man and the awakening of the soul, which actually the poem is revealing later and later. As the poem proceeds, you will find the indelible reminiscences in the spiritual growth of the man and the awakening of the soul. The beauty, along with the exquisite charm of the wild groves, way to the thoughts of more deep seclusion. These are the lines again which are coming. And the wreaths of smoke, which are sent in silent. The wreaths of smoke, which are sent up in silence. And the prospect of that vagrant dwellers or some hermit cave is a testimony of some divine force at work. यहाँ पे मतलब क्या है कि there is some divinity, there is some soul, there is some God which is at force, which is at work, bringing about the union of nature, the union of humanity. Fine. So this is what is the starting lines of these poems, where you have to make the examiner understand well that you have started with the poem Tintern Abbey. Any questions you may ask here, students? Now, after this few lines of Tintern Abbey and a brief nurturing of this poem, you will just tell that nature by itself, as an animating force, nature क्या है? By itself is an animating force, owes its inspirational aspect to the hands of God, who has infused life into it. भगवान ने, divine ने, soul ने उसमें एक जान दे दी है. So what is this heavenly force? What is this force? This heavenly force is basically considered as a source of inspiration. And to whom? To the poet in a lonely room amidst the din, the crowd of the towns and cities. And he owes to them in hours of weariness. He owes to them in hours of sensation sweet, felt in the blood and felt along the heart, and passing even into my purer mind with tranquil restoration. So this quote and quote will also come in between to make the examiner feel that you have a greater knowledge of this great poem, Tintern Abbey. And yes, you will also feel good when you will integrate, when you will blend your answers with the quotes you have read in the poem. So this is basically, students, a force. It is a force that lightens the heavy and the very weight of this unintelligible world. And if I talk about, Wordsworth's mysticism, Wordsworth's mysticism is basically evident when he has said, or we can say when he says, the soul and body feels very much rejuvenated by the past memories which sustain them. And what are those lines which you can quote here for discussing, for proving your Wordsworth mysticism? Those lines are, until the breath of this corporeal frame and even in the motion of our human blood almost suspended, we are laid asleep in body and becoming a living soul. So these few lines of the poem will make the examiner understand that you have understood the point Wordsworth mysticism to the very depth of it. फाइन. सो ये जो लाइंस आप लिखेंगे, इसके बाद फीलिंग क्या होगी, दैट इट विल बेसिकली फर्दर इंक्रीज the poet's mysticism pertaining to the mysteries of birth, pertaining to the mysteries of death as well as rebirth. And the presence that disturbed him with joy of elevated thought and a sense sublime is nothing else but God. Again, I am repeating this very important sentence, that the presence that disturbed him with the joy of elevated thought and a sense sublime is none but God. Nature imbued with a divine spirit. Nature किससे imbued है बच्चों? It is imbued, it is blended with a divine spirit, with a divine soul. And again you can write that quote, which is a very important line, the anchor of my purest thought. The anchor of my purest thought, the nurse, the guide, the guardian of my heart and the soul of all my moral being. So in this poem, he prays for his sister Dorothy Wordsworth and tells her about nature's magnanimity. It tells us about unbounded benediction, which leads from joy to joy, from joy to joy. And you remember those lines, nature never did betray the heart that loved her. You can write this line as a quote, nature never did betray the heart that loved her. So this is basically, I'm trying to make you understand the sequencing, the blending of your knowledge with your writing. And whatever I have said till now, you will not find any gaudy words, any words which are bombastic, which look as if the student is trying to overpower his diction, his vocabulary. No. It is all very pure thoughts, very, simple blending of the thoughts of your knowledge and the poem which you have read, which inculcated in your mind and soul. Fine. Now, nature is the God of plenty. Nature, students, is the God of plenty whose blessings do not let the evil tongues, rash judgments, and sneers of selfish men shake our equanimity of mind or disturb our cheerful faith. And towards the end of the poem, he calls himself a worshipper of nature with a far deeper zeal of holier love. And this shows that he looks up onto nature as a deity worthy to be worshipped and raises to a pedestal of a supreme force controlling all humanity. Fine. So this is what you have to show with these lines, telling the examiner about the mysticism part, about how you have learned about Wordsworth. In between, you can also write certain things about Wordsworth, which I have taught so much in the classes also, and if even you will see in my study materials too. So students who are preparing for this examination, I will just give you a thumb rule before I continue my class. The thumb rule is to qualify this civil services exam, that even before you prepare for the pre-examination, the GS or the pre, you have to start your mains examination. Why? Because if you qualify your pre, mains, if taken into consideration much afterwards, mains will never happen. So this has been my experience with many of the students pan-India who got into touch with me after a later period of time, and they said that, sir, I did the same mistake, and after qualifying pre, UPSC pre, they could not justify mains, and ultimately they were back to pavilion, and you know what happened after getting back to pavilion? They could not qualify the pre the next time. So हमेशा ध्यान रखिए कि डू एंड डाई की स्थिति करिए, मरना या मारने वाली स्थिति करिए, कि always take your next attempt as a last attempt, and don't feel that नहीं अभी नहीं बाद में करेंगे. जब बाद में आप करेंगे तो कभी होगा ही नहीं वो. You will be only getting your pre and GS, and you are forgetting your mains. Why? Because mains is the supreme force which will make you win the race if you qualify pre, otherwise it will be back to pavilion. So you can see these colorful books, these are hardbound books which the students get when they join the classes, or they can even order for the study material if they don't want to join the classes. So they have all the options. You have to just download the application OSN Academy from the Play Store, or you can take the links from the subscription box below. Thank you. Now, Tina Chaudhary, good morning Tina. How are you Tina? आपकी यूपी पीसीएस की तैयारी कैसी चल रही है? You had joined the UP PCS batch, and how is your job also going on of the TGT? So any questions students? मुझे अब अच्छे से पता है कि आप लोग ध्यान से पढ़ रहे होंगे, और ये बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट सेशन है. चलिए आगे बढ़ते हैं हम लोग. सी नेक्स्ट पोएम जो इसमें इंटीग्रेट करना है वो है इंटीमेशंस ऑन इमॉर्टैलिटी. इंटीमेशंस ऑन इमॉर्टैलिटी. सो द इंटीमेशन ओड which is also can be said as, you know, the doctrine of reminiscence, and the human soul forms the core of the poem. Core of the poem क्या है students? The doctrine of reminiscence, and the human soul form the core of the poem, the intimation ode. And this poem, the intimation mode, is recognized as a masterpiece of philosophical and metaphysical poetry. This is very important. The intimation ode, इसको क्या कहेंगे? This poem is recognized as a masterpiece. As a masterpiece of philosophical and metaphysical poetry. That's so good, Tina, that everything is going on well and you are happy. And I hope so that you must be preparing also well. So, this is the most important line. This poem is recognized as the masterpiece of philosophical and metaphysical poetry. And it is only due to his faith. It is only due to his faith. His faith means Wordsworth's faith in the divine, in the divinity, that even a common sight, a common चीज भी seems to him apparelled in celestial light. मतलब वर्ड्सवर्थ की जो आंखें थी वो इतनी डिविनिटी से भरपूर थी कि उसको कोई कॉमन चीज भी ऐसा फील होता था कि जैसे वो डिविनिटी से या सेलेस्टियल लाइट से वो क्लोथ्ड है, चारों तरफ से वो लपेटी हुई है। इसी को इंग्लिश में मैं कहता हूं, इट इज ओनली ड्यू टू हिज फेथ इन द डिवाइन दैट इवन अ कॉमन साइट सीम्स टू हिम अपैरल्ड इन सेलेस्टियल लाइट, एंड हिज मिस्टिसिज्म comes to the force when he tells about the heaven rejoining in the jollity of earthly creatures, and the mystic earthly in Wordsworth rests not till he has made the reader aware of the ultimate transcendental reality in his works. The Intimations ode is no expectation. क्योंकि अगर आपको याद हो, वो कहता है that our birth is but a sleep and a forgetting. Our birth is just a sleep and a forgetting. The soul that rises with our life's star hath had else where its setting but trailing. Cloud of glory do we come from God who is our home. So these lines here will be absorbed while you are writing your answers on mysticism, proving that yes, you have read this poem with the adaptations, with the memorizing part of these poems. And Wordsworth says that the glimpse of our past life that stay with us in childhood, बचपन में हमारे साथ वो रहता है, and youth तक भी, but gradually fades away into the light of common day, and the glory of that imperial palace of heaven is forgotten with the advancing age. The more we advance towards the age, the more we mature, the more we forget of the past days, where, as per Wordsworth, those days are blended with the celestial light. That is the glory of the imperial palace of heaven. वो हम भूल जाते हैं with the advancement of the age. And in this poem, the Intimations ode, Wordsworth's mystic imagination, कैसी imagination? Mystic imagination sees a very, very living relationship between a soul of man and the soul of the universe. That is called a vision of cosmic unity, a vision of fraternity and even fellowship. The child as a mighty prophet. The child as a mighty prophet, and seer blessed is a reflection of the divine. Thou little child yet glorious is the might of heaven-born freedom. It is only some divine force that has the power to make. Our noisy ears, seem moments in the being of eternal silence. Truths the wake to perish never. So, ultimately we see that in his works, Wordsworth's vision of nature was constantly spiritual. क्या था? Spiritual था. He not only loved nature से ही वो प्यार नहीं करता था, but he glorified, he defied, and he divinized it also. His worship, his adoration of nature was never inspired by passion for aesthetic beauty, elegance, and splendor. All forms, all objects, all aspects, all appearance of nature, whether it is graceful, whether it is lovely, or magnificent, or somber, are awe-inspiring or forbidding alike, stir and used to stimulate his visionary imaginations. They are the living emblems and the images of the divine spirit. So, students, you must have seen that this was the way how I tried to explain you, taking into consideration both these important poems which are in your course syllabus, redefining it with the main aspect, that is the mysticism. And apart from this, students, as you have been UPSC PCS students or assistant professor, that is the UGC NET exam, I congratulate Mr. Rakesh Kumar, who has joined the Hathras College, PC Bagla College, and he is not only my student, but he has also put up very hard work always try to acknowledge whatever I used to tell him from time to time as far as the classes, the content, the test series and everything. And he not only qualified these big entrance examinations, but also qualified the interview panel. After that, he got this success story made by himself to show the world that yes, he has made it through OSN. As I have never been in favor of showing these things, but this child, he made his own video, requested him to show to the aspirants that only one thing matters, and that is the right knowledge, the right guidance and your own hard work. अगर इन दो चीजों में से कोई भी एक मिसिंग है बच्चों, तो शायद चीजें बन नहीं पाती. Fine. Any questions from your side? Any questions, students, from your side? Now it is your time. You can ask questions. You can ask questions. I will teach more about Wordsworth. I will teach more about Wordsworth because in this question I have dealt with the previous year question exact which came in the UPSC. But now I am going to teach you a detailed knowledge about Wordsworth. Detailed knowledge about Wordsworth as a great poet. Yes. Manoj Kumar, how to practice mains. How to practice mains, Manoj, is your subject of UPSC English Literature. And if your subject is UPSC English Literature, then it is a blessing that you have got OSN Academy today, because from this channel, from this platform, you can not only excel your preparation, but also can think of qualifying exam. Yes, Manoj, your subject is English Literature. Fine. Then the number is showing on the screen. So from there you can get the number and you can talk to me, WhatsApp me after this session and come back to me so that I may be able to guide you for your coming examination as far as classes is concerned or anything is concerned. Fine, Manoj? Yuva Kranti, I think you must have to come with Shakespeare, Milton, Wordsworth and so on. Yuva Kranti, each and every topic I teach in my classes, exactly the syllabus wise. There are 15, 17, 20 batches going on in my application OSN Academy for different top level examinations of literature in India. And every examination has a different syllabus. So if it is not about Shakespeare, Milton or Wordsworth, it is about the exact syllabus. UPSC has a different syllabus, PCS has a different syllabus, West Bengal has a different syllabus, UGC NET has a different syllabus. There may be common things in between, but the syllabus is different. So that is why the batches are different. So I always prefer students taking the relevant batch for their examination. You can see on the screen there are all different batches, and once you download the application OSN Academy on the Play Store, you may find a different learning experience that yes, this is that place where you can take that command on literature, that excellence in writing the test, and to nurture with the best quality which has to be inculcated in your mind to write good answers. Otherwise, by only reading the text or by reading the guidebooks, I think that it might miss something, because you need not to have the guidebooks only for your reference, but you have to have the energization from inside, and that insight will come when you have a great knowledge, a deep understanding of literature. You have to fall in love with literature. And how can you fall in love with literature? When you have a deep interest in literature. And how you can get interest in literature? When you have a good mentorship, when you have a good professor with you, when you have a good guide with you. Then you will inculcate, when you will absorb, then you will have that changes to have a great experience and a great transformation and a great inclination towards your subject literature, and then you have a better understanding, a good writing skill, and everything will enhance from time to time. Any questions, students? Any more questions? How many of you students want to have more knowledge on Wordsworth? आप लोग बच्चे जितने भी देख रहे हैं, कितने बच्चे चाहते हैं कि सर हमें वर्ड्सवर्थ और थोड़ा सा अच्छे और डिटेल्स में पढ़ाएं, थोड़ा और उसके बारे में बताएं, क्योंकि वर्ड्सवर्थ एक ऐसा पोएट है, एक ऐसा शख्स है जिसके बारे में अगर हम 10-20 घंटे भी बोलते रहें तो भी शायद कम है. ही इज सच अ ग्रेट पोएट, ही इज सच अ ग्रेट फिलोसोफर, ही इज सच अ ग्रेट प्रीस्ट दैट देयर इज नो एंड to discuss Wordsworth, because he is actually below the ocean above the world. जैसे शेक्सपियर के बारे में कहते हैं जितना वो नीचे है उतना ऊपर है. In the same way Wordsworth has also the same personality, the same length of the same inculcation of that knowledge. राजेश चौबे, आप चाहते हैं कि थोड़ा सा आप वर्ड्सवर्थ और पढ़ें, और कितने बच्चे चाहते हैं? और जैसा मैंने पहले भी कहा है बच्चों कि चैनल को ज़रूर से सब्सक्राइब कर दीजिएगा और लाइक बटन को ज़रूर लाइक कर दीजिएगा, सो दैट यू मे बी एबल टू गेट द नोटिफिकेशंस. फिलॉसफी ऑप्शनल बेटा नहीं है. OSN Academy is a name in India only for English literature. Only English literature optional for the top level to the नीचे से लेकर टॉप लेवल एग्जामिनेशन फॉर लिटरेचर. संतोष कुमार सर थोड़ा सा LT ग्रेड के बारे में थोड़ा संक्षेप प्रकाश डालते. संतोष कुमार, अगर आप LT ग्रेड के स्टूडेंट हैं तो आपको OSN Academy का ऐप डाउनलोड करना है. OSN Academy का जब आप ऐप डाउनलोड कर लेंगे संतोष जी, तो आप अंदर जाएंगे, उसमें आप सर्च कर लेंगे LT ग्रेड, तो आपको दिखाई पड़ेगा कि वहाँ पे बड़ा बड़ा लिखा हुआ है LT ग्रेड एग्जामिनेशन. वहाँ पे जब आप क्लिक करेंगे तो पूरा सिलेबस आ जाएगा और वहाँ पे सारी क्लासेस, पूरा PDF, सारी चीज़ें आपको मिल जाएंगी. सो दैट इज़ द बेस्ट पार्ट, दैट यू आर गोइंग टू गेट द LT ग्रेड बेस्ट क्लासेस फॉर योर एग्जामिनेशन. फाइन. किश्वर मसूद, गुड आफ्टरनून किश्वर. अमरीश कुमार, UPSC इंग्लिश ऐसे. UP इंग्लिश ऐसे बेटा वो तो एक अलग चीज़ हो गई. दैट इज़ अ पेपर विच इज़ अ कॉमन पेपर, इट हैज़ नथिंग टू डू विद लिटरेचर. यहाँ पे ऑप्शनल पढ़ाया जाता है. जिन बच्चों का ऑप्शनल लिटरेचर है वो तो अपने आप में ऐसे में टॉप करते हैं, बिकॉज लिटरेचर स्टूडेंट्स हैव दैट एबिलिटी टू राइट सो वेल. सो उनके लिए ऐसे लिखना कोई बहुत बड़ी बात नहीं होती है. लेकिन अलग से केस केवल ऐसे नहीं होता, बिकॉज दैट इज़ अ डिफरेंट इंस्टीट्यूट्स वेयर दे टीच दोज कॉमन पेपर. I teach only English literature as an optional. Fine. Any more questions students? See, अगर हम बात करें शॉर्ट में और थोड़ा सा बात करें कि बीच बीच में आप क्या लिख सकते हैं while you are attending your original answers of PYQs, then Wordsworth actually was a person, was a child. He basically grew up in the lap of nature. वो कहाँ पैदा हुआ था? नेचर के बीच में. He grew up in the lap of nature. And when he grew up in the lap of nature, all around there were things like jungle. Jungle को हम कह सकते हैं solitary woods. There were lakes, there were rivers, there were hills. So he was born up. He was born in the lap of nature amid solitary woods, lakes, rivers and hills. That is why we always say that his real education came from the teacher. And who is that teacher? The teacher is nobody else but nature. Nature has always been an awe-inspiring entity for Wordsworth, and because of this inspiration, and because he so much owed to this inspiration, he came to love humanity. Because he loved nature so much, and in love with that nature, he started loving humanity, and that too humanity in all its simplicity, humanity in all its commonality. सभी सिंप्लिसिटी में, कॉमनैलिटी में ही स्टार्टेड लविंग ह्यूमैनिटी. एंड इफ यू रिमेंबर स्टूडेंट्स, द पब्लिकेशन ऑफ लिरिकल बैलेड्स, these things can also give you a good marks, a good edge while you are solving the answers. But always remember, not too much. Here and there you can use certain things if you forget something, so that कि कॉपी थोड़ी सी भरी भरी सी लगे और उसमें केवल वर्ड्सवर्थ की ही बातें हो रही हों. So if you remember the publication of Lyrical Ballads in 1798, and that publication basically harbingered क्या किया? It harbingered a new era. It opened a new era in the creed of literature, popularly known as, उस एज को क्या कहने लगे? उसको कहने लगे Romantic age. And the poets of this age revolted against the old school of poetry. And you students, if you remember, I always teach history of English literature in the initial classes. Why? That is the reason you can understand when I am teaching in the syllabus-wise classes. So the poets of this romantic age revolted, उन्होंने revolt कर दिया against the old school of poetry. And these poets, they shunned the gaudiness, the verbosity, the inane phraseology to which their predecessors were accustomed. And they revolted against the artificial style which were adopted by Dryden and Pope in the last age. And that is why this age is known to be an age which breathed a new life into poetry. एक poetry के अंदर एक नई जिंदगी पैदा कर दी. And William Wordsworth happened to be the flag bearer of this romantic age. Torch bearer, flag bearer, pioneer to the romantic age. Understood, students? आपको समझ में आया?
Searching too many videos relating to the English literature, because I have graduate with honors in English literature, and I have opted English literature as an optional paper. Once I have searched on YouTube that related to the English literature, and then I saw your videos. And
he is our student from Bihar, who is in Delhi nowadays. So there is a special crash course also, students. Crash course can be taken by any XYZ students, whether he is for TGT or he is for IS. So these crash course classes are basically designed in a way which will nourish your entire system of English literature as far as the history of English literature in a question answer form is concerned. Nobody teaches history of English literature in the question answer form. I will be asking the question and I will be answering that question so that it will also improve your understanding, and whenever you go to face any interview in your world, you may be able to get that success part, because you will be getting that things which are asked in the interview boards or even in the examinations. Fine, so students, so I hope so today's class would have helped you a lot in making you understand that how you can grow in the field of literature by getting the best out of it. But yes, you should have the passion to prove your level best under my guidance. Thank you, students, and have a good day. Meet you soon.